我现在在天普中文篮球解说员比赛的决赛现场，究竟谁将成为天普首个中文篮球解说员？跟着我们 OwlSports 的镜头一起去 find out。
He just said, I'm here at the Battle of the Broadcasters for Temple's first ever Mandarin broadcast. Stay tuned to find out who claims the crown. OwlSports Update is live and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome into the latest live edition of OwlSports Update. Alongside Christy Sergio, I'm Jared Phillips.
Today's lineup consists of coverage not only from the court, but the turf as well. So let's get to it. First up, we have some men's hoops. The Owls have suffered some rough losses this season. At Memphis in a game where they led most of the way. At East Carolina to a team that just had one conference win at the time. It's not easy winning on the road, which brings us to this past weekend when Temple traveled to South Florida hoping to pick up that sixth conference win. South Florida was having issues of its own winning games, just 2-7 in conference heading into Sunday's matchup. Josh Brown hands it off to Quentin DeCozy for the three, and he was hot hands in this one, going 30 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. Trelo continues to impress with the steal, and he slams it down on the USF defender. Something tells me that we'll see that play again in a bit later. Number 11 finished the game with 11 big ones. The Dream Team at it, DeCozy to Obi Anchionia for the three, and Obi sinks it. Obi also finished in double figures. 13 on the night. A little teamwork action here between DeCozy, Josh Brown, and Devin Coleman. Brown had 5 points and 4 assists this game. DeCozy and Brown seem to have faith in Devin Coleman, though, who will take the tray and nails it. It was his only bucket on the night. Jalen Bond also hit the court for the first time in 2 games and contributed 8. The Owls go on to win 70-63. They've now won 4 of 5 and 6 of their last 8. Looking at the two teams head-to-head, the one glaring stat is turnovers. Temple leads the nation in fewest turnovers per game, and it really showed against South Florida. Just 5 turnovers in this one. That's 4 below their season average. USF topped the Owls in rebounds, with both teams having a tough time finding the bucket. With the win, Temple is 12-8 on the season and 6-3 in conference.
We're joined now on desk by OwlSports Update's Tracy Yatsko.
And we're still talking basketball, but not really in English.
Yes, basketball, along with many Temple sports, have had their games aired on national TV. But starting with Temple versus Tulsa men's game, the Owls will have an international audience that starts in the Liacouras Center and ends halfway around the world in China.
To be a broadcaster is my dream when I was a little boy. I love sports.
Temple is now making JV's dream come true. The Battle of the Broadcasters gave 5 international students the chance to become Temple's first ever Mandarin broadcasters for the basketball team. This is the university's first step in integrating diverse cultures that share a common passion, basketball, or Liacouras in Mandarin.
It's a symbol of we Chinese students getting engaged in all the campus activities, and it means a lot for Chinese students.
We can conquer the gap between international students and American students. Now we can have a common topic, basketball.
The 5 finalists performed in front of these 2 screens to fight for the right to become Temple's first ever Mandarin broadcasters. The winners will make their debut at the men's basketball game versus Tulsa.
James and Jay-Z.
The Wan boys have added one more thing that bonds them other than sharing the same last name and a love for hoops. JV and James claimed the title thanks to an online poll from the audience, which accounted for 50% of the vote.
I came here and to meet this opportunity and get invited and to win it. Yeah, I'm so lucky.
I mean, it's great. I'm kind of surprised that 76 people voted for me. I didn't expect that many.
学生在我们的 NCAA Division 1的中表现非常出色。
James and JV beat out 24 Chinese students who auditioned for the top spots, and they're going to use their basketball skills to audio broadcast and highlight videos to China for the rest of the home games.
That's awesome, and I heard you actually got to learn some Chinese yourself.
I did. James was really cool. He hung with me and he taught me. Basketball, as you saw in the package, is Lan Chiu.
Lan Chiu.
Lan Chiu.
Lan Chiu.
Add a little swag in there. And then cherry on is Tien Pu Jai Yo.
You could try this one.
Tien Pu Jai Yo.
That's close enough.
Nailed
That's
it.
fine.
That's awesome. Thanks, Tracy.
And luckily, the men's conference standings aren't in Chinese. As you would expect, SMU is still at the top of the mountain with just 2 losses on the year, both of which came in conference play, one against our Owls, of course. With wins over Cincinnati and UConn, the Owls are in great position to snag a good seed in the AAC tournament. It certainly helps that SMU will not be taking part. Rounding out the bottom 5, you have teams that the Owls cannot afford to lose to, and teams that the Owls have already lost to in Memphis and ECU. This crucial part of the season continues with a matchup against conference rival Tulsa at the Liacouras Center. A win would put the Owls one step closer to one of the top seeds in the American. And I'll note Tulsa is the only team in the American that Temple has never beaten. The Owls are 0-4 against the Golden Hurricane. That includes 2 losses last year. You can hear the call on WHIP through iHeartRadio, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at OwlSports Update for complete game coverage.
There are plenty of former Owls playing in the pros. Alums Will Cummings and Michael Eric were both selected to play in the NBA D-League All-Star Game. Cummings is having a great season, averaging more than 20 points per game. The game will be held in Toronto Coliseum on Saturday, February 13th at 2 p.m.
Greatly for Temple University. They were on winning teams, both of them. They have a great history and tradition that they were part of here at Temple. And their dream is to play in the NBA one day. And one of the ways to do that is to play in the D-League and to do well. And obviously you can't do a whole lot better than being on the All-Star tournament. I think there was no ceiling that we set for either guy, but there was a lot of potential in both of them. And again, I think the quality of the person is equally important as they make their journey through life. And people that are coaching them and watching them play and seeing what they can do are saying, you know what, not only are these guys good players, but they're great guys.
It's time for us to step away, but when we come back, we'll talk about a dominating women's basketball team playing a matinee at the Liacouras Center.
Plus, OwlSports Update Zach DeMedio caught up with some members of the women's lacrosse team as they get ready to start their season. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back. It wasn't the prettiest of games, but the women's basketball won a road game down at East Carolina, 83-63. The Owls fell behind by a few in the first quarter, but they outscored the Pirates 47-23 in the second and third quarters combined. Temple shot under 30% and turned the ball over 20 times. As mentioned, not really pretty. Aaliyah Butts scored 25 points and picked up 7 steals. Erica Covell contributed 16, followed by Fiona Fitzgerald, who had 11 points and 11 assists.
1 month ago, the women's basketball team headed down to Dallas to take on SMU and suffered a heartbreaking 2-point loss. Wednesday at the Liacouras Center, in front of a very special crowd, the Owls got a shot at revenge, and they made the most of this opportunity. It's a noon start as Temple welcomed young students from many schools in our area. Early first quarter action, Fiona Fitzgerald finds Erica Covell under the hoop, and that's an easy finish for the senior. Defense was huge for the Owls. Denasia Fontaine off the steal out on the break with a strong take to the rim. Fountain led all scorers with 14. Owls are up 30-17 at half, and they're in the driver's seat. Second half was a track meet, and the Owls won by a mile. Fountain finds Tanea Atkinson for 2 of the Owls' 16 fast break points. Temple goes on to trounce SMU. 55-35 is your final. Giving up 35 points is a season best on the defensive end for Temple. They dominated on a day when offensive efficiency was low for the Owls. They only shot 30% from the field. The story of the game was the 28 forced turnovers by Temple. For a college game, that is an insane number. You would think the 76ers were playing on Wednesday. Denasia Fountain was all over the place in this one, filling up the stat sheet with every category she could get her hands on.
This noon start for Temple is very unusual. It happens once a year to allow for some unfamiliar faces to fill the stands. OwlSports Update's Christian Reilly was at the game to explain. Hey, Christian.
Hey, Christy. There are some days when the Owls have a working lunch on their calendar coming into their second matchup with SMU on Wednesday at noon. They were looking to take their defensive intensity to another level.
The Owls made life difficult for the Mustangs all game long Wednesday afternoon. They forced an astonishing 28 turnovers that led to 31 points.
Just defensively, I felt like it set the tone for our team. And, we didn't shoot a high percentage, but we stopped them from scoring. And we talk all the time, when shots aren't falling, or make it difficult for your opponent to score as well. And I felt like we definitely did that today.
The early tip-off certainly didn't affect the Owls, as they were aided by a large crowd of over 20 local Philadelphia schools that were in attendance.
I feel good today. Kids have a lot of energy. I love the atmosphere. I love actually playing for the kids. Just bring a lot of intensity for our team.
Over 2,000 students from schools in Delaware, Newcastle, Burlington, and Philadelphia counties took in the action that included halftime activities for their scheduled field trip. The students also saw Temple give up a season-low 35 points in the blowout win.
We love it. They're full of energy, just screaming, and I know our kids feed off of that. Just having them in here and, being able to play in front of that kind of a crowd that's, supporting and cheering for you. I wish we could have school day once, not every, because they have to go to school. Once a month. We should try to get them here once a month.
Thanks to their suffocating defense, the Owls held SMU to 24% shooting from the floor. Causing havoc like that will bode well down the stretch of conference play. Christy and Jared, back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Christian. Good things are happening for Temple basketball. As we take a look at the conference standings, Temple doesn't fall far from the top. Number 1 UConn continues to stay in first with a perfect record. The real race is in the conference for second place, and it should be Temple's goal to stay in the second or third seed and away from the fourth seed, which would keep them from having to face the Huskies early in the postseason tournament. And speaking of grabbing that second seed, the Owls have a big one on Saturday against South Florida. The winner of this game is in the driver's seat. South Florida has won 6 of 7. The Owls have won 6 of 8. This game will take place at the Liacouras Center, and tip-off is scheduled for 2 p.m. If you can't make it to the game, you can catch it on ESPN3. Or, if you're on the go, follow us on OwlSports Update for updates during the game.
To grab a win, chances are Aaliyah Butts will need a big game. The super sophomore has been killing it. Butts was awarded AAC and Big 5 Player of the Week for her play against ECU and Tulane. Just look at those numbers. 20-plus points, almost 5 steals per game. Butts has been picking everyone's pocket. She had another 5 steals against SMU Wednesday, and Butts is averaging about 16 points per game on the year, which leads the team. Believe it or not, basketball is not the only sport we have in play on North Broad. OwlSports Update's Zach DeMedio is at Giese Field to give an update on the start of a new season for the women's lacrosse team. What's up, Zach?
Thanks, Jared. With the warm winter weather we are having, that must mean the spring semester is truly upon us. With that said, the women's lacrosse team is gearing up to get back on the turf. After a hot 8-1 start to last year's season, the lacrosse team cooled off and went 2-5 the rest of the way, just missing the NCAA tournament. But with 13 seniors returning this year, head coach Bonnie Rosen expects those veterans to help guide the team to a postseason berth this time around.
Well, I think veteran is a huge part of our team, and I think it's going to be a big part of anchoring the start of our season and will certainly carry us through. Our seniors have gone through a lot, and they've learned a lot about both playing and how to play the game.
Despite having the group of experienced upperclassmen, the Owls have a steep climb ahead of them as they were picked to finish 6th out of 8 teams in the Big East Conference.
I mean, we're in a pretty challenging conference, so I wouldn't say that necessarily bothers us, but we definitely have a chip on our shoulder.
Our goal is to get ourselves to the tournament, which means being in the top 4, so that 6 isn't good enough for us. And, we'll take going after a Big East championship.
In order to go after the Big East championship this season, there will be several women counted on for key scoring throughout the year. Two of those girls happen to be twins, Megan and Nicole Tiernan. Nicole led the team with 35 goals in 2015, and for the second consecutive year was named a unanimous selection to the preseason All-Big East team. While she appreciates the acknowledgement, she's more focused on the team's success.
I mean, I just think it's an honor to be awarded at all. I think that our team has all put in a lot of effort this fall and in the beginning of the spring. So I think that if me and my team can work together, I think it's like a really great honor that they gave me.
The Owls will play an astonishing 14 out of 17 regular season games in the state of Pennsylvania. They host Louisville next Friday to open up the regular season. Reporting live from Giese Field, I'm Zach DeMedio, OwlSports Update.
Thanks, Zach. Great stuff as always.
Looking forward to the Lax team getting going, and with so many home games, there should be plenty of chances to see a game.
But for now, it's time for another break. Tommy Sladek will be joining us to give an update on National Signing Day and all the football news we have to offer.
Don't go anywhere. OwlSports Update coverage continues after this break. Welcome back. Student government took the time to set up a meeting with President Theobald and the athletic director Patrick Kraft to talk about the football stadium proposal. As anticipated, the community has many concerns about the stadium and how it will affect them. Temple students were able to submit their questions prior to the meeting. Two major concerns about the stadium proposal are the finances and how the stadium will impact the nearby community. Clear that a $100 million plan will not come from the students. The money they use will be rent from the generous donations, and the alumni will cover the other costs. The location for the stadium is proposed to be between Norris and Montgomery, where Giese Field and the track are now. President Theobald said that there are still many meetings they need to go through before a final decision will be made.
That block right there where the new rec center is going.
Either way, we are years away from a possible stadium, but we're not far away from seeing Temple's newest recruiting class.
We're joined now by Tommy Sladek, host of Inside Owl Nation. Thanks for coming on, Tommy. And we want to hear your thoughts on the football stadium, but also your thoughts on this new recruiting class we have coming in.
Of course, we are here for Inside Owl Nation, and I will be talking about not just the Temple Stadium, but also National Signing Day. Hello and welcome back to another jam-packed edition of Inside Owl Nation. I am your host, Tommy Sladek. The proposed on-campus football stadium has been the center of attention all week following the Q&A style forum President Neil Theobald and Athletic Director Dr. Patrick Kraft held on Monday. Open only to students and reporters, the meeting was cut short when a group of protesters made it a screaming match rather than a structured, you ask a question politely and they answer. Word of advice to the oppositioners, have some class, ask your questions, and you will find your answers, while also giving everyone else in the room something to think about other than how rude you are being. Also, word of advice to the university, if you are going to have a meeting, make sure the community is invited. And if you don't want them there with the students, just have a separate one. Look, you can't not expect these third and fourth generation families that have made this area their home to support your idea if you do not make it one of your biggest priorities to show them how they too will benefit from an on-campus football stadium. Financially, I would first like to start and say that the $100 million raised for the stadium would not cost the students a single penny. Donors are the ones raising the money. The Eagles currently charge Temple $1 million a year to rent out the link. The contract is up in 2017, and Temple would have to pay $12 million up front and $2 million each year for a 30-year renewal. My math is weak, hence the communications major, but even I was able to figure out that the deal would cost the university more than $70 million. On the other hand, according to the Philadelphia Business Journal, a stadium on campus could bring in $4 to $5 million in profit each year, profit that would go right back into, well, the university. Late last night, in the final hours of National Signing Day, four-star defensive end and ESPN Top 100 recruit Karamo Diabate signed with Temple football, making him the highest-ranked recruit in program history. The prep charter product and Philadelphia native made some serious noise after choosing the Owls over South Carolina, while also turning down top programs Auburn, Michigan State, Ohio State, just to name a few. Let's take a full glance now at what the Owls class of 2016 has to offer. Owl fans were very excited to see quarterback Anthony Russo on there, as well as his fellow Rutgers decommit, three-star Isaiah Wright. Coach Matt Rule believes this year is the strongest they've ever successfully recruited in the Philadelphia area. 4-star running back Tyleek Rayner out of Imhotep Charter being one of many. Here's what Rule had to say about the new signees.
At the end of the day, the most important thing I think is that our players are our greatest ambassadors. When people come to Temple, they see the players that are leaving, they see the kids playing in all-star games, graduating, going to the combine, doing all the things they want to do. But they also meet the kids that are here in the program and see the success that they're having and realize they can have that success as well. So it's easy to recruit at Temple, and I think this class exemplifies that, with lots of kids who are not just Temple kids but had a lot of other opportunities, but they chose to come here and be Temple Owls.
Well, I guess that's it for Tommy Sladek's Inside Owl Nation, but we have to take one final break. But when we come back, we'll have an update on the surging women's fencing team.
Plus, John Ginsberg is in the studio for your Play of the Week. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. The women's fencing team has skyrocketed to a top 10 ranking this season, and they continued their strong play at the Northwestern Duels in South Bend this past weekend. The Owls went 8-4 over the 2-day span. Their only losses came at the hands of opponents ranked higher than them in the national poll. Handling business against non-ranked opponents and holding their own against other top 10 fencing units in the country has Temple as a proven entity in the country's elite. Up next, the Owls are traveling down to Durham, North Carolina for the Duke meet featuring Duke, UNC, Notre Dame, and Brandeis. On guard, sir.
Trey Lowe is a name that has started to surface more often than not when talking about the men's basketball team. And it should be no surprise that our Play of the Week comes from the freshman himself. OwlSports Update's John Ginsberg is in the newsroom. Hey, John.
Hey, Christy. Now listen, I got some defense for you that's leading to some offense. In Sunday's bounce-back game against USF, Quentin DeCozy lit up the stat sheet. However, our Play of the Week comes courtesy of freshman Trey Lowe, who continues to keep opposing teams on their toes. Let's take a look. Seems like a normal inbound, right? Obi Anecchionia and Sean Alston trap USF's Bo Ziegler in the corner, forcing him to make a weak cross-court pass. Trey Lowe smells trouble and swoops in for the steal. Lowe gets ready to lift off, and before you know it, he's back on the floor, celebrating his monster jam. No flash, no glitter. Lowe remains immovable. He finished with 11 points on the day. Now, Ziegler actually recovered in time to meet Lowe at the rim, but Lowe says, "This is my house, brother." If you catch any sweet shots or silky smooth dunks, tweet us at OwlSports Update. From the newsroom, I'm John Ginsberg.
Thanks, John. Well, Christy, it looks like, it's that time of the show where they give us the hook, but we will be back on desk before you know it.
Emily Millard and Rob Arcier will be back on desk next Thursday. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at OwlSports Update. Have a good day.